United USA.
Big four energy providers have actually now started to fight back against this green agenda, which I think is robbing Australia of the opportunity it needs to get economically our house back in order. It's good news, I would have thought, Stephen, that we're actually now starting to see the energy giants starting to unite and say, we want to get our baseload act into gear. Please let us.
Absolutely, but I think there needs to be more done on that. I think the federal government needs to take a leadership role here, particularly around uranium and nuclear energy. If we're going to be fair income, and I think the language around this has always been the problem. If we all just agreed that we'd like to breathe cleaner air and we'd like cleaner energy eventually, as long as it's economically viable, well, let's move towards that. But when you discount the one thing that's going to be able to achieve not only clean energy but economic security and baseload power, and that is nuclear power, then you've dropped the plot. So you've lost the plot and you've dropped the ball. So I think it's good that there is a bit of a fight back, but I think there's a lot more leadership needs to be shown on this particular issue, particularly from the federal government.
Well, I think it's also each state, and I mean, Carolyn, it's a bit of an East Coast issue because the national energy grid doesn't necessarily do much for Western Australia, but it's fair to say that the manufacturing ability of Australia is going to rely on baseload power and efficiency in the system of also circulating that electricity where and when we need it. The idea of actually having solar panels solving every factory need really doesn't work. Solar panels are fine on each house, but of course the grid itself doesn't take that feedback in from solar panels very well. There's a lot of money going to have to be spent on the grid if we're going to keep following this green agenda, and I think that's kind of part of the problem.
There's a whole bunch of problems, and you're right. Here in WA, we're quite set up on our own, and we have quite a major gas supply and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So this really is, for the most part, very much an East Coast issue. The thing is, I think that these companies have finally worked out that if they don't sort it out, they're the ones who are actually going to get blamed if there isn't a reliable power source. It's like the penny just dropped. And okay, you can blame government, you can blame activist groups, you can blame whoever, but ultimately they're going to be the ones who are going to be carrying the can. Yes, we do need to have baseload power, and if we want to have any sort of manufacturing in Australia or more brought back to Australia, we're going to need to be competitive. And for that to occur, we can't reduce our labour costs, so we have to reduce other costs of production, and energy is the prime example. I'm personally, as they say, agnostic about energy source. I'm not really fussed where it comes from, but it does need to be economical, and it does need to be reliable. The other issue that we need to think about here is, with more and more people, even in the sense of putting solar panels on their roofs, the more of those people that opt out of the system means that the cost that has to be borne in maintaining the grid and maintaining the cost ends up being borne by those people who are remaining in the system, and often it's those people who have got less ability to be able to afford that increased cost. So something definitely needs to be done, because we need as many people in the system using an efficient and effective system as possible so that we can keep the cost down for everyone.
Not just green deals to support sustainable energy, but they need to reinforce the power grid. Here, there, everywhere. At least the Aussies have come to a compromise.